Mitski just dropped. The album is called Nothing's About to Happen to Me and is the follow-up to 2023's The Lad is Inhospitable and So Are We. A great album that has gorgeous deep cuts on it, beyond the massive hit My Love Mine All Mine. It was an album that was very sad, very melancholic, but despite it being a late career Mitski album, it still holds up well as one of her best in my opinion. And while this new album here is certainly not as reverby, chilling, wintry or depressing as her previous album, it still carries on the melancholic direction that it went to. Comparatively, this record is a little more upbeat, but only comparatively, because on its own, this album is still a record you would rather chill along to than dance to. While The Lad is Inhospitable and So Are We had a handful of gloomy piano ballads, the tracks here have more of an indie rock appeal, even slack rock at certain points. There are some Americana and singer-songwriter type ballads too, which is of course nothing new for Mitski, but they're still presented in a fashion that is quite refreshing, since throughout the tracklist, the album seems to dive into themes about death, the struggles that come with being in love, and most noticeably, cats, which of course makes sense given the album cover. As silly and funny as that sounds, the themes revolving around cats are actually done in creative ways, as Mitski metaphorically and symbolically ties them in with her expressions of the struggles that come with being in love and so on. There's a song on it here literally called Cats, which is one of the softest songs on the record, as soft as a cat's fur. Despite how gentle the production as a whole is, it's actually very well detailed. I mean, look how many instruments are in the mix. Now lyrically, this contains some of the biggest gut punches on the album, as Mitski is in this unhealthy situation where she's essentially relying on this person for her well-being and justifies how she doesn't want to leave them due to her still being way too in love with them. She brings up cats throughout the song, which I assume has her comparing herself and this person to two cats as possibly a way to find comfort in this isolated situation, though at the song's ending she mentions the possibility of the cats being nowhere in sight, reinforcing the topic of the loneliness she feels she will experience if she leaves. But even if these cats are gone, she will be glad to know that they're following their hearts, which is a metaphorical way to express that she will at least be happy at the fact that her lover will find what they want even if they're no longer with her. It's a song that's easy on the ears but very heavy on the heart. The appeal of the melodies throughout the album seems to rely more heavily on being relaxing than catchy, though there are still some addicting tunes in the mix, like the chorus on Where's My Phone. The song as a whole is probably the stickiest cut on the track list. There's also that bridge on If I Leave, which is so endlessly replayable for me, not only through how irresistibly catchy it is, but also how much it pops out in the song due to it being backed up by these intense drums and fuzzy guitars, which together aggressively contrast the soft instrumentation that happens throughout the rest of the song. Her voice also has this light angsty edge to it that just makes the hurt emotions expressed through the lyrics hit even harder. Lyrically, this seems to carry on with the theme that Cats was exploring, which makes sense why these two songs are back to back in the tracklist. While Cats had Mitski exploring how she won't leave this relationship because she is too in love with this person, on If I Leave she further explains that if she leaves, it feels like she won't find anyone else who will love or understand her as deeply as that person did. She also expresses that she is certain this other person will find someone else easily if she does leave, and it's these types of tracks on the album that have those explosive moments, such as the bridge on this song or that soaring payoff in the album opener, just to name a few examples, that noticeably overshadow the other tracks on the album that don't feature these things, making them feel underdeveloped and nowhere near as engaging. Not to say that every highlight here has those explosive moments though. The moving strings and jazzy percussion are enough for me to consider I'll Change For You to feature one of the most beautiful instrumentals on the album. It's elegant to say the least, but songs like Dead Woman have a payoff that feels so anticlimactic that even the captivating lyrics which explore this thought experiment of what the person Mitski is singing directly to would do if they found out Mitski was dead aren't enough to make up for how unprogressive the instrumental is. It certainly feels underdeveloped when compared to the track that follows, Instead of Here, which is so much more therapeutic and somewhat bittersweet. It also explores the theme of death more interestingly, and I find the vocal melody to be one of the most entrancing on the album. I guess my other issue with Nothing's About to Happen to Me overall is that not every melody that Mitski brings is as great as the next. Some are boringly surprisingly forgettable, and I could also give this same critique for some of the lyrics too. The chorus on Rules is an example of lyrics that feel like filler. While I obviously know the play with counting numbers tie in with the theme of the song, they really do make for a tedious listen and could have used more thought in the writing to make them tie into the theme in a way that's actually pleasant to listen to. Listing out numbers was the laziest approach. Its placement feels necessary, but as a chorus it does feel lazy. Really, the best thing the song has going for it is the instrumental breakdown towards the end, elevating the already playful, upbeat feeling of the song to a slightly more triumphant height, with a blissful clarinet and some of the happiest theatrical horns I've heard in a while. There's also Charon's Obol, which is the most by the numbers track on the album, sounding like the most meat and potatoes version of this record's aesthetic and style. And going back to Dead Women, that do chorus isn't nearly as chilling or haunting as it tries to be. It just ends up feeling underwhelming. I have to admit, considering the album is the follow-up to the amazing The Land Is Inhospitable and So Are We, I was slightly disappointed with how this record turned out, especially given how the singles leading up to it raised my already high expectations even further. There are still more hits than misses for sure, but the album does take a bit of a nosedive during the second half, and even some of the highs feel like they have the potential to be even greater than what we actually get. Please like and subscribe.